welcome to a brand new episode of Health 360. I'm Sneha Murdani. Last week we told you all about sugar and what it is doing to your body and to your mind. We told you about increase in lifestyle diseases not just in India but outside of India. How is sugar really sold to you? You've been made to believe that this is a product which is actually essential for every occasion of your life. Also, you've been made to believe that sugar is actually harmless. That's far from the truth. This is the second part of a two-part series on sugar. The bitter truth of sugar is what we're about to tell you, and we are going to decode what the sugar industry has done over the last few decades or so in making you believe that fat is the culprit behind an increase in lifestyle diseases. We're also telling you how to do a sugar detox in this episode. This is the bitter truth of sugar. Sugarcoat. That's what the sugar lobby did for years and decades together with facts and figures surrounding the adverse effects of sugar on the human body. Instead, they went on to project fat as the culprit, saying that fat indeed is responsible for the increase in lifestyle diseases. Indeed, the world was fooled, thinking that sugar is completely harmless. Take a look. Imagine a world without sugar. Just imagine a world with no sweet dish prior or post the meal. It's a world that does not exist, not even in our imagination. But what led us to believe that there's nothing like sugar in a meal? We try to decipher that.
Neither your taste buds nor your body is asking for sugar as a necessity. It was a secret PR campaign by sugar industries which normalized excessive consumption of sugar. And how? They did it by deviating the debate of sugar being a cause of ill health to how much healthy it is for us. And the proof is in the documentary named Sugar Coated, in which investigative journalists came together to find out what's wrong.
The documentary revolves around the fact that in the past 3 decades, obesity rates have doubled and type 2 diabetes has tripled. They found out that industries use the same tactics as tobacco industry used to sell their products in the late 50s and 60s. For instance, a study was published under the name Sugar in the Diet of Man, which claimed that sugar was not only safe but actually important for health. Result? As long as there was confusion and uncertainty about sugar's role in health, regulators were forced to give sugar a free pass. The trick was to counter the adverse findings with industry-funded research and using that data to refute the findings, claiming what impact it had on our health. In simple terms, masses were forced to believe it isn't sugar doing any wrong to our health, but the saturated fat.
Industry in 1999, several CEOs of the industry met in Philadelphia. They realized that sugar is harmful to health. And they said, to avoid this criticism, we need to be part of the solution. So they started funding health professionals, obesity networks, and being part of the solution, like being a stakeholder in a discussion where policies are made. So they do not allow actually the policies to actually let people know the harmful effects of sugar, high sugar in the products.
With saturated fat enlisted as the dietary villain, processed food industry had to figure out how to remove fat while maintaining taste. The solution was to add sugar. Hence, ill-advised low-fat craze is a major reason why processed foods are loaded with so much added sugar. And in no time, sugar became the bliss point, the ingredient in a product that make one crave for it. We also need to understand that it is excessive consumption of sugar that's the problem. Moderation is actually the key. It is about the maximum that your body can safely and effectively process.
If you avoid eating industrially processed food products or drinks, that probably can take care of this consumption of sugar. And how it causes addiction is that the high sugar impacts our brain, and the satiety center, what you call as, which should stop you to eat more, doesn't function well.
Europeans consume on an average 17 teaspoons of added sugar a day. The American average is 19.5 teaspoons a day. Indians consume up to 20 teaspoons of sugar a day. The condition is worrisome if we put things into perspective. In 1812, the condition is worrisome if we put things into perspective. In the year 1812, people ate approximately 9 grams or just over 2 teaspoons of sugar every single day. But yes, that was over 100 years ago.
Our stand on sugar debate is somewhat similar to that of tobacco debate of 1960s. The debate where studies suggest that the impact of sugar has been smartly altered to fool us all into believing that sugar is spilling all the good into our lives. But for now, the sugar industries are serving a bigger agenda, which is of saving the beverages and fast food industries across the globe. With camera person Sachin Chandok, this is Simranjit Kaur Renu for India Today.
Did you know that every packet of processed food that you pick up has information on the sugar content? That's in the nutrition label. But how does one misguide the consumer? That's an art the sugar lobby has mastered. They give out information in such a way to confuse the consumer. Alternate names of sugar are used so that the consumer does not know that he or she is only consuming sugar. Also, the amount of sugar the consumer ends up consuming in a normal serving is played down by the industry. And that's the reason why we put together this report for you to understand how to read labels in every food product that you consume, in every food which is processed.
Sugar is a general name given to the short-chain carbs that give your food a sweet taste. It has alternate forms and names. You may ask, what's in a name? Apparently a lot, because it is behind these names that the industry hides the truth. A large part of our sugar intake is hidden inside packaged and processed foods. Most of them are marketed as healthy. Companies market sugar, calling it by a different name. The other trick the sugar lobby uses is this. Food manufacturers often take advantage of this to make their product appear healthier. Some use smaller amount of 3 to 4 sugars in a single product. Products labeled as low fat, diet, natural may still be loaded very well with the sugar.
Why I call them misleading is that most of the food products which are industrially processed, they are projected by the food industry as healthy. They'll say, oh, it's mango, it's fruit, it's nuts, it's something like that, you know. I don't see an advertisement you would also not have seen which will tell you that this product contains, say, 40% sugar. Let's take the example of a chocolate or ice cream. Adding nuts or fruits to them will not reduce the risk of sugar.
While we may think we are consuming healthy food items, we are being fooled by these labels. Look for healthy sugars instead of added sugar. The government too must step in, say experts.
It's a very important intervention the government can take, that any food which contains high amount of sugar, which I've already defined as 10% or higher, should have a warning label. It is an urgency for the country which is heading for being a diabetic capital, and it is an urgent step required as a mandatory step. Let me show you a product which contains 80% sugar, but it says it's a mango. It projects as a mango, but it's 80% sugar. Why should people not be informed about this? This is their constitutional right. Right to life includes right to health. And same principle should also apply to the advertisements of those products.
The other thing you can do is go down the path of moderation. Lowering the portion size can help. If you are consuming unprocessed food, the sugar you consume will be natural. Select whole food rather than packaged food items. And always remember, devil is in the details. You actually need to outsmart the sugar lobby, and the only way you can do right is by reading the labels right. With Vaishnavi, Bureau Report for India Today.
Excessive consumption of sugar will throw up some signs and symptoms, and that's your body's way of telling you that you're overdoing it. What are those signs and symptoms? We tell you in this report. Love your sugar? The unhealthy kind, refined, empty sugar, and you also don't know when to stop. Also, are you wondering how much is too much? Both the American Heart Association and the World Health Organization recommend about 25 grams or 6 teaspoons per day of added sugar for women and 36 grams or 9 teaspoons of sugar for men. So think about how much sugar you have consumed already today itself at the time of watching this report. From premature aging to unexplained bloating, there are a series of problems that excessive sugar consumption can lead to. Moodiness. Excessive mood swings are one sign that you are overdoing sugar. Some research suggests that sugar might decrease the diversity of healthy bacteria in your gut within as little as a week, making your digestive system sluggish.
Just by intake of excessive sugar in your diet will not lead to any sign and symptoms until and unless it is reflected in your blood glucose level. So when the blood glucose level increases, it leads to many comorbidities like fatty liver, obesity, increases the risk of diabetes, heart attack, and many other things like mood alteration is also one of the sign and symptoms, leading to irritation, then sleep disorder, and the patient also sometimes feels lack of energy.
Some studies have linked breakouts to eating too many sugary foods. Excessive sugar consumption is equal to acne, and this mainly around your chin and mouth.
Excessive sugar, basically sugar is a burden for all the lifestyle diseases nowadays. And moreover, in a simple way, if I'll tell you, simple sugars are considered as hollow calories. Sugary drinks, sugary items which are widely available nowadays in the market, all those packed food items, those all leads to lifestyle diseases like diabetes, heart problems, obesity, one of the major cause of all those lifestyle diseases. Again, obesity is also considered as a disease nowadays. And it leads to PCOS, which is very common in young women, and a lot of acne, skin acne, skin aging, depression, anxiety, all those are causes of high sugar consumption.
Eating a cookie or cupcake with loads of added sugar too close to the bedtime can make it hard to fall asleep. Many experts suggest stop eating entirely, especially sugary foods, at least 2 hours before bedtime so that you don't get indigestion. And sugar has its time to make its way through your system and you can relax and get into a sleep mode. A high sugar diet has been shown to speed up skin aging. That's because too much dietary sugar reacts with proteins in your bloodstream and forms advanced glycation end products, damaging the structural proteins in skin collagen and elastin that make your skin supple and bouncy. Constant bloating, weakness, loss of muscle mass, altering of taste buds, all of these are early signs to show that you are going overboard with sugar. In New Delhi, Sneha Murdani for India Today. Insane amount of energy and restlessness. Are you feeling sleepless after having that big piece of cake after dinner? We're talking about sugar rush and we're telling you what it does to your body. Also, how can you manage it for yourself and for your kids who often face it?
Do you know what's up with this child? Do your children behave similarly sometimes? extremely active, driving you up the wall, unable to sleep at night after a big dessert. Now that is called a sugar rush. A sugar rush is when you have sudden cravings of indulging into a massive ice cream sundae or gorging on an entire bar of melted chocolate that then makes you feel happy and so satisfied. Almost all of us have fallen prey to these cravings. But how does your body react to this? Once the sugar rush comes to an end, it eventually causes low blood sugar levels in the body, which tends to make you feel hungry even after eating. Consumption of sugar in heavy amounts is one of the most unhealthy habits. It makes you feel tired and drowsy, and these symptoms eventually lead to weight gain and being inactive. Food products like candies, pre-packed items and cakes provide no nutritional benefit and ultimately ends up making you feel lethargic and fatigued.
I think parents are also responsible for what their child is choosing, what their child is opting for as a meal. They should keep a watch on that, and they should guide their child that when to eat, what to eat. Parties, those social gatherings all together add on to those availability of different fancy cakes, fancy pastries or muffins and whatnot.
Experts recommend limited sugar intake. The ideal portions are as follows for kids and also for adult men and women. For a kid who's 4 to 6 years old, 19 grams of sugar, that's essentially 5 sugar cubes, is the limited sugar intake that's recommended. A kid between the age of 7 to 10 can consume 24 grams, that's 6 cubes of sugar. If a child is 11 years old and above, that amount slightly increases to 30 grams, which is essentially 7 cubes of sugar. For adults, particularly men, 36 grams of sugar is the recommended amount, that's 90 spoons of sugar. For women, it's slightly lesser at 20 grams, which is equivalent to 5 teaspoons. And for children, it's 12 grams, that's 3 teaspoons of sugar. Basically, children older than 2 years should consume less than 25 grams of sugar a day, and children who have not reached this age shouldn't be given any additional sugar other than what's naturally present in foods.
You should always try to limit those artificial sweeteners, because studies have shown that they have an effect on increasing risk of cardiovascular diseases or diabetes. Stop taking those sugary drinks and avoiding those sugary drinks as much as possible. Instead of that, you can replace them with like chach or lemon water or coconut water. Those are more natural way of taking liquids.
So what are the signs and symptoms in kids to watch out for? Increased urination, increased thirst as well, fat levels going up, fruity breath odor, stomach ache, constantly vomiting as well, and even seeing a weight loss. Sugar has many effects on memory as well as the brain. It slows cognitive functions, it leads to deficits in memory. Problems with attention and inflammation in the brain even has been recognized by experts. Sugar rush is when the rush of adrenaline that gives your child energy and causes their heart to beat faster, their brain to be more alert, and their body to go into fight or flight. So they also become anxious and jittery. Their bodies then start to look for more sugary foods to combat those feelings. So how to manage sugar rush in kids? Do not use sweets or any food as a reward. Using them in this way can make them more desirable to children than if they had not been used as a reward, and can unintentionally lead your child to rely on food or sweets to deal with their emotions. Serve sweets without any stipulations.
As per World Health Organization guidelines, the sugar intake should not exceed more than 10% of total calorie intake. And now, if we talk about the carbohydrates, then its daily requirement can be very easily met by eating fruits, vegetables and grains throughout the day. So now, the bottom line is, eat as little sugar as you can to stay healthy and fit.
With camera person Manish Jha, Sabah Ikram for India Today.
Are you trying very hard to resist that cheesecake or that mithai? Are you trying very hard to break that bond with sugar that you built over the years? Then this report is for you. We're going to tell you what you can consume instead of these rich, sugary products and how to go about detoxification. Take a look. Do you have a sweet tooth that you just can't help? The more you consume, the more you want. And that is how sugar gets us hooked. But for those wanting to break sugar addiction, there is hope. There are ways to do it and there are several alternatives. First of all, let's tell you all about sugar and how much you'd actually end up consuming. Adults are to consume 5 teaspoons a day. That's how much women should consume. Men should consume 9, kids not more than 3 to 4. Let's now take a look at how much we're ending up consuming. Men and women are consuming about 22 teaspoons a day. Kids are consuming 24. Cut sugar from your diet and do yourself a favor. There are several advantages of sugar reduction. It will reduce your acid reflux. It controls irritable bowel syndrome. It reduces joint pains, brings down anxiety and fatigue, also tackles migraine. How then can you bid goodbye to sugar? Make a decision to do it now. Quit cold turkey. No added sugar in anything whatsoever. Go sugarless in your drinks. Tea and coffee without sugar. Reduce starch. Go for non-starchy vegetables like mushrooms, onions, green beans. Manage your stress. Well, if you do, your cortisol levels will be in check. Hunger, cravings will be in check. Get good sleep for lesser hunger pangs and better management of cravings. Here are the foods to pick and choose from if your cravings won't leave you. Go for a piece of fruit. Berries are rich in fiber and sweet. Sugar-free gum or mint is a great way to control your sugar cravings. Yogurt is a healthy snack that is high in protein and rich in calcium. Dates are the dried fruit of the date palm tree, which are highly nutritious and very sweet. Sweet potatoes are nutritious, sweet and very filling. If you're craving something sweet, you can go for smoothies as well. Also prunes, just like dates, are full of fiber and nutrients and are very sweet. Having the odd sweet treat is fine for most people, so you really shouldn't feel guilty if you occasionally indulge. The sugars you must skip are sugars that come from ultra-processed and packaged foods. It is often said that a known enemy is better than an unknown enemy. Now, because of what sugar does to us and because of the manner in which its ill effects, the excessive use of sugar and its adverse effects are not really put under the spotlight, this puts sugar under the bracket of that unknown enemy that you must be wary of. That brings us to the end of this edition of Health 360. We hope you find these reports useful. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself.